Alright, so welcome to the video, boys. It's your man CGOD back on the Ultra Classic today, 2008 by Harley Davidson. So today we're gonna go ahead and start disassembling the front end. You know what I mean? I did go ahead and throw the 21 on just because, you know, it looked kind of ghetto just having the rear wheel and not the front, but it is what it is, y'all know. Basically though, we're gonna tear it all apart. We got a bunch of stuff going on in the front end, you know what I mean? Get it nice and juked up. It is a little bit shady here underneath my patio, but if you guys seen the previous video putting the 21 on, I said, you know, that we're gonna take it apart anyways, but y'all know what it is. This is where it's all gonna go down, so stay tuned. I'm gonna start taking it apart and I'll bring y'all back. So a little bit of recap on the progress that we've got so far. That is the ignition switch, you know what I mean? So as you can see, it's supposed to there initially was supposed to be there. We've already removed all of this stuff. As you can see, I got my little helper out here, you know, chilling. Went ahead, first things first, I removed the axle nut covers because we've got different ones we're going to put on. I went ahead and, you know, loosened everything up, removed the brake calipers, pulled out the axle, removed the wheel, took off the bolts for the fender, and then I went ahead and started taking the front end apart. And I mean, that's pretty simple, you know. It's got like one hidden bolt, which was in here somewhere. I don't know what the heck it bolted to. Or actually, I want to say maybe it bolted right there then to our lower fairing cover, because there was a cover here, and that bolts on the side, you know what I mean? And then there's a couple of bolts, this one here, which on my bike was an Allen head bolt, or I don't know what you would call that, button head, but with a hex, either way. And then yeah, I went ahead and loosened all those up, and then the last three holding it on were these top ones. So I mean, loosened that one, basically took it all the way off, and then removed the windshield, removed the little chrome trim piece that's down there. After doing that, we went ahead and removed the fairing itself, and you just kind of got to disconnect the headlight, you know. Not too bad. To remove the ignition lock, you put your key in it, you turn it to the fork lock position, and there's a little pin underneath, which I'll go ahead and show you guys. Man's just tired, but it's right here. So underneath the pin, or underneath the ignition lock, that pin right there, you'll press up, and you'll be able to remove the entire ignition, you know what I mean? So coming forward now, we're going to have to remove this little nut, right? This nut will come off, this little piece comes off, and this little backing plate will get removed. Then we got a couple more Torx bolts on the side right here. And then after we pull off this front panel, then we should be able to remove or tilt forward our inner fairing, you know what I mean? Because we are doing a stereo, you know, where I've got bigger speakers. These are probably like 4.5s, and I've got 6.5s or something like that. But it's some kind of like adapter. So we'll kind of figure that out as we go, you know what I mean? And yeah, but basically the idea for today, I'm trying to get our fork legs out. That way I can start prepping them for paint, because I want to have them painted, and then I'm going to bake them in front of a, I have like a, I don't remember exactly what you would call it, kind of like a portable heater, a space heater, right? So after I paint them up, I'm going to leave them in front of the space heater in my basement for a good week or two at least, you know, and then we're going to do the handlebars and all that stuff, you know what I mean? So it's a little bit of a work in progress, but should be good. We're getting new fork boot covers, or whatever you want to call those, you know. It's a whole gang of stuff. And what I'd like to honestly do as well, I'm going to get these little bump stops that are going to go around this piece, right? So they're going to come in, and it won't allow my suspension to go up high enough to bang the fender, because I do intend on lowering this bike a good amount, right? So that's the idea for that. But this is the first time I'm doing this, you know, so it's a little bit of a progress. I do intend on, you know, like making sure all this stuff is connected the same way or whatever. But hopefully, you know, I might not even have to disconnect most of this stuff. I might be able to just take off the fairing, you know, and let it chill. But yeah, eventually, I mean, I plan to get to the handlebar removal and all that stuff. But I'm going to continue on this, and I'll bring y'all right back. So, y'all know what it'd be like. Ran into an issue. So, initially, your ignition goes here, right? That piece there, you know, you twist it to turn your bike on and whatnot. So, I got these LA Chopper 1.5 inch width, 18-inch bars, right? And they look cool and everything. They're going to be replacing these. These are 1 1/4 with a 1-inch clamp. And as you can see, I already got rid of the original riser and the original riser bushings. We got our solid Johnnies on here, right? But this piece, see, because these bars are riserless, right? So this is all that just goes on there, and they just bolt on, you know? You get your little bit of adjustment here to position them, you know, however you want. But our little clamp thingy there interferes, right? It wonderfully interferes with this piece, you know, because the big old ignition module, which I'll show you, this piece, you know, normally sits there. So I've done some MacGyvering, and I've decided I'm probably going to try to put it in the X cigarette lighter hole, which you can see here, you know. So then I'll just reach over and, you know, have to click it here instead of over here, which actually might even be like a weird position, but it'd be somewhat like kind of a kill switch. Like, not really, but kind of. Even though it already has the security, you know what I mean? So it won't start anyways, even if you do turn it on. But yeah, so that's just part of the fun, you know what I mean? I'm going to try to get that in there somehow, some way. But the main goal of the day, or of this video, is to fully, you know, remove the forks and the cans here and here to be able to get these painted. May or may not start on the stereo, because I'll probably do the stereo like in its own video. And that will probably include the speakers, because like I told you guys, I got some bigger speakers. So yeah, you know, we're just having a ton of fun out here. But yeah, so I don't know how, but somehow, some way, I'm gonna go ahead and try to get this in here, and if I get it, then I'll bring y'all back. Okay, so after a little bit of this, a little bit of that, there you have it. So basically, check it out. Click it on, bike comes on, you know what I mean? Harley Davidson. After extensive, you know, fitting, modifications and whatnot, we now have it in the cigarette lighter slot. So I mean, once again, this is only because, you know, the handlebars are kind of funky and the ignition was not going to work right there anymore, unfortunately. So, you know what I mean? It's part of the game, I guess. A little bit of customness there. So we no longer have a fork lock, being that I had to cut it off to fit it behind the fairing. Y'all know what it is, you know. Don't necessarily recommend this. This is just an idea I came up with real quick. But there is a lot of other options, you know what I mean? You can get like Softail style and have it here on the tank, or you can relocate it here, you know. But those all involved getting a different ignition switch, which I didn't want to do because I am cheap. So we no longer have a cigarette lighter, but we now have ignition here, you know. Pretty sweet, I think. Let me pull off the fairing and I'll show you guys what that looks like. So there's the ignition switch. As you see, we lopped off one side of the, what do you call that? Like the mounting side, you know what I mean? And then completely cut off the fork stop, being as how it's not going to do anything underneath the fairing, right? So, I mean, really don't condone this, you know what I mean? Do this at your own risk. I also had to make the hole bigger because the cigarette lighter hole wasn't big enough, you know, so just dremeled it out to fit. Additional clearance was needed behind the fairing. So you can see it's got like this structural little ridges here, and it's just like non-existent here, you know what I mean, because that's where that piece sits. But you gotta do what you gotta do, you know what I mean. Custom Fab Daddy, you know what I mean. But I do believe it should fit now. It's not like the most secure thing in the world. I had to make this little washer, which you might be able to see. It's like a half washer, which basically you just kind of like tilts it down a little bit. That way it doesn't hit the inner fairing here whenever you turn it. You know what I mean? So like, go like that. You can even still hit the music if you want, you know, the accessory. But that will hit the fairing. But yeah, basically, and then whenever you turn it off, it's going to hit your bolt head right here as well. And I have no idea how I'm going to get the one in right here. Probably have to just remove this, but you can pull this off very easily, you know, with the key. You just put it in, press the little button in the back, and turn the key counterclockwise, and this piece will come off and go back on the same way. So yeah, that's probably how I'll end up doing that. But there it is. Next thing's next. Released the pinch bolts for our suspension. Well, not the suspension, but for the forks, I guess. Released these. The only thing holding the fork legs in now is the fork legs themselves. They have caps up here, but I'm going to leave the caps in place and just loosen up our forks themselves and then bring them out individually. And then I'm also going to take off our cans and basically just prep these for paint. And that'll probably be for another day, you know what I mean? Get them all sanded up, because they do have, you know what I mean, like some texture here that I don't want behind the paint, you know what I mean? So, and then that little line too, you know what I mean? I'm going to sand all of this, get it looking real sweet, you know? But boy, it has been a day, let me tell you, because yeah, I'll go ahead and probably insert a picture of the issue I was having with the ignition switch and the handlebars that I got due to them not having regular risers, you know what I mean? Since those bolt directly to the bars, that's just the way I had to do it. So check that out. Alright, playboys, so there you have it. Forks are out, cans are off, bike is like a unicycle basically. So I mean, it was pretty easy. One thing you got to keep an eye out for, once you loosen these up and you're loosening them from the top cap there, see if I can focus on it, maybe. Damn, nah, come on dude, killing me. Alright, so either way, you got a top cap right here, right? So when you're loosening it up off of those, the factory springs will indeed have some tension. So I mean, as you can see, I got them here laying in the grass. But not going to use those, so I'm not too worried about it. Emptied out all the fork oil, you know, make sure you want to pump it up and down a good few times where you get as much as the old oil out. I'm going to be hanging them upside down to paint anyways. But let me show you guys a little sneak peek of what's to come. So check these out, dude. Oh yeah, on the Big Daddy bars, you know what I mean? So I did mock them up, you know what I mean? Like not bolt them on or nothing like that, but this is where the fairing bolts onto the bike, right? So like this is legit where it sits, and whenever I mocked them up, you know, like set them right there, they're like up here, boys, like whee! So it's gonna be so sick, man. Hands are gonna be in the wind. It's gonna be killer. I will need to find a block off plate, you know, or come up with something, because this piece is no longer going to be used, being that our ignition is now on the side of the fairing, you know what I mean? But you know what it is, and then I no longer have this cigarette lighter, but look, that thing looks pretty nifty, eh? I like it. But yeah, brothers, that's going to be about it on the teardown portion of this. Now, the bars that it had weren't stock to begin with, you know what I mean? So like my clutch line here, you could follow it down, you know, and it's got quite a bit of slack, like, you know what I mean? Like I can just kind of show you guys. Well, it has a lot of slack, you know what I mean? Like the bars can be the heck up here if I needed them to be. So I don't think I'm going to have to replace the clutch or the brake lines, you know what I mean? Because they're both quite long, you know what I mean? Like it's definitely going to work, you feel me? because look how high. I mean, you know what I mean? I could probably rock 20s with these cables. So that's cool. You know what I mean? Not a problem. Anytime you got the brake calipers off, make sure you don't hit that brake, you know, because then it's going to compress your caliper, and that's no fun. One thing I am worried about, though, is the cables, or the wiring. Seeing as how these were extended already due to these bars not being factory. These are either like 14s or 16s or something like that, you know, possibly 12s, but they look dang sure bigger than 12s. You know what I mean? But these are 1.25" bars, so I'm not going to be able to reuse my cup holder or any of that good stuff, you know, because we're going to be rocking these bad daddy 1.5" Johns. But I mean, it is what it is, you know. And then, like I said, the cool thing about this is you'll be able to adjust the angle. So once I have them actually bolted into the bike, but not tightened down, I'm going to move it as much forward as possible until we're into the fairing, you know what I mean? And then from there, I'll go ahead and tighten them down. So that's kind of why I went with these bars. Sorry about that, my voice just cracked. But that's why I went with these bars, just for that simple fact, you know. And then they're like machined down right here on these little corner pieces to be able to fit right there where the fairing covers and stuff like that go on, you know what I mean? Like right over there. But they look pretty slick, and I got them for a slick deal, you know what I mean? And then on these ones, the wiring comes straight out of the front versus this one comes out of the bottom. Does that make sense? So it might be a little bit easier, but I'm going to have to depin this, you know, depin them, and then remove all the cables out of the bars, but that's definitely going to be for another video. I've done it before, you know what I mean? It's not my first rodeo. It's probably like the 4th bike that I've put together on this patio here. So if you guys have been here since the Honda Shadow, you guys are #1. But beside that, boys, I think that is going to be it for this one. You know what I mean? This is just a teardown, and turned out to be an ignition switch relocation video. So if you're looking to do that, I mean, that's how I did it. I really do not recommend it, but if you're in a pinch like I am, you know, like I would have loved to kept it there, but unfortunately I don't want to go through the hassle of trying to return bars and get new ones and all this stuff, you know, being that my dog done ripped up all the stuff, you know, all the foam padding for it. So I don't plan to do that, you know what I mean? It is what it is, you know. But either way, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Stay tuned, because you know we're going to finish this up eventually, you know what I mean? But I don't want to have it down too long, being that summer is already here, baby. So next up, we're going to be painting the fork legs, you know what I mean? And that'll be a video in itself, so stay tuned, baby. Later.